Have you ever felt like you wasn't worthy? Have you ever felt like you wasn't enough? Have you ever felt like people didn't value what you brought to the table? Welcome to my YouTube channel, Tea Talk with Nette. Today I want to talk about valuing yourself, knowing your self-worth, knowing that you are enough, knowing that you are worthy, knowing that you have a voice. I once didn't feel worthy. My self-esteem were so low, and I couldn't understand why I felt rejected by people, why I felt mishandled, why I felt misunderstood, why I felt not heard. I went on a journey with God and let Him heal me from all of the things that I just mentioned. I asked God, what is it that you see in me that I don't see in myself? Because I was really going to people thinking that they were going to see my worth and my value or what I had to offer, but I didn't believe it in myself. Let's be honest, sometimes we go to people wanting the recognition from people, we want the applause, we want the validation for people to root us on to do the thing what God is calling us to do. And we don't believe in ourselves enough to know that you're the one for the job. Healing is necessary. You can't want people to value you when you don't even value yourself. Sometimes we don't know our worth. Sometimes we look for people validation in order to do the thing that God is calling us to do. What I had to do to begin to value what I brought to the table, value the gifts and talents that God gave me. I prayed and asked God to show me what He see in me that I don't see in myself. God, show me, what do you see in me that I don't see in myself? God, heal me from the pain, the rejection, the triggers, the behavior, right? I began to stop asking people, what did they think about this? What do you think about that? Or how do you think I did? And I stopped asking people questions like that. I took those questions to God. Every time I would do something or I would start something, or even in the process of building something with God, I asked God for His opinion. Even working on projects now, I ask God, what do you think about this color? Do you want to do this color? How do you think this color look? This is something that I didn't do before. Because sometimes we can go to people for validation and it can shift our whole mood. We can have a whole good idea or a God idea, but when we go to people and not go to God first, and they don't agree with what you are doing, it shifts your mood. It stops you dead in your track from creating or doing the thing God told you to do. I stopped seeking people validation. I stopped people pleasing. And I started inviting God in the process of everything that I was doing, creating and building. That's with ministry too. I remember it was a moment where I had been in ministry with this group of ladies, and God was telling me to begin to bring other women in. The first time we did it in person, and after the meeting, I asked one of the ladies that had already been in the meeting, I had asked her, what do you think? How did I do? In that moment, she was real and honest with me. She said, Ned, ask God. That was a punch to my gut. I was like, okay, I get you. I wasn't mad at her, but I understand where she was coming from. And in that moment, I stopped seeking people validation. I began to ask God, and I really began to walk with God on a journey of asking Him, what did He think? How do He think I did? What could I have done better? Or, what can we do next time? We have to learn to invite God in everything, because God is the creator of it all. Another thing of how I found value in myself, I stopped people pleasing. You have to know your worth. You have to know If no one applauds for you, if no one shows up for you that you are enough, that you are worthy, that what God has given you is valuable. And once you understand that principle, that's when everything changes. That's when everything shifts in your mind. Who are you doing it for? Are you doing it for God, or are you doing it for people? Because if you're doing it for people, you will be disappointed every time. So now that God has changed my whole perspective when I'm doing things, when I'm even creating these videos for you all, if I don't get any likes, any comments, God, I did what you told me to do. God, what do you think? God, how did I look today on the live? These are the conversations that I'm having with God. I was talking to the ladies in ministry a year ago. I told them, I said, I came to the realization that I'm not looking for the applause of people. I'm not looking for people to tell me you did a good job, which those validations sometimes do push you to want to keep doing it when your mood is low. But I understand the principle behind it, to go to God with everything. And how I got to this place that I am, of still building the confidence and knowing that I'm worthy, is I used to look in the mirror, right? I used to do affirmations in the mirror. I used to tell myself, Lynette, you are loved, you are worthy, you are enough, you are valuable, you are favored in God's eyes. Because there was a time that I didn't like my voice. And I told God to heal me in the area of my voice so that I can like my voice, that I would love my voice, and help me to heal from what was trying to muzzle me, what was trying to stop me from speaking. God showed me in that moment, there was a time in my childhood where my mom and her ex-husband will just be fighting or fussing. And I will always get in the mix, in the middle of it. I was always the one that said, hey, you better not touch my mom. But I was going over my aunt's house during those times, and I used to tell her about it. And she told me to be still, keep quiet, don't say nothing. That's where my voice began to be muzzled at a young age. I believe I was around 10 or 12 years old. I didn't understand in my adulthood why I always was shy or shied away from speaking up or speaking what I thought I wanted to speak. God took me back to that moment. Sometimes people could speak things over you that you don't even realize it will affect your adulthood. That's why it's necessary to heal from childhood wounds, denounce the things that people speak over you, sit with God and let God heal you from the past. It's very important, because I see a lot of women that sits on their gifts, that wants to stay stuck in the background, that have powerful stories, powerful testimonies, but they are afraid to speak up and speak out about them. And I believe God has me in this space now to help women find their voice again. My ministry is called Silent Sisters Ministry. In that moment, I asked God, why do he want to name it Silent Sisters Ministry? I looked up the definition of silence, and silence is giving a voice to the women who thinks they have no voice. And that's what my ministry is about, helping women rediscover their voice, walk in true freedom and purpose, in obedience to God. As God began to reveal to me about why I didn't like my voice, I allowed God to heal me in that moment. And I told God to help me to embrace my voice. There was a time where God would have me to go Facebook Live. I wouldn't go back and look at the live. I would tell my son to go in the other room and listen to the live, because I didn't want to hear my voice. I just didn't want to hear my voice. But God has healed me from that. He has healed me from that. And now I'm using my voice to help other women find freedom. I'm able to edit my videos and look at myself and say, girl, you doing your thing. I love you. I love your voice. The areas that we hate about ourselves is the area that God wants to heal you from. I will say that again. The areas that we hate about ourselves, the areas that we seek people's validations, is the area that God wants to heal you from. That rejection that you get from a coworker or a family member or someone closely connected to you, that you may feel rejected every time you ask them something. It's not them rejecting you. It's God highlighting to you the area that He wants to heal. I don't know who is that for. The rejection that you may be feeling today is simply an area that God wants to heal. Whew. So y'all, that's how I began to value myself. You can't think people gonna value what you have to bring to the table if you don't value yourself. If you don't look in the mirror and see yourself the way that God sees you, you will always seek people approvals. You will always be asking people, what do they think about you? Learn to love yourself unconditionally. Learn how to show yourself grace. This is another topic that we can talk about. Showing yourself grace. Stop beating yourself up for what you thought of or how you thought things should have played out or how you thought things should have went. I have allowed myself to give myself grace. Even when I'm creating or doing things, even when I'm setting goals out for myself, I have learned to give myself grace. That's all for today's video with Tea Talk with Nette. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, I will see y'all in the next episode. Peace.